internet, so today's video is a little bit of a impromptu video. I wasn't actually planning to film this, but in retrospect I don't know why, because I think it makes total sense because I have so many of these books. I'm currently going through a bunch of my dot grid notebooks because I'm trying to figure out which one I want to use next year for my bullet journal, and more importantly I'm trying to figure out what stickers to make for myself just to make my organizing a little bit easier. And then when I pulled them all out, I thought, why don't I do a comparison video? It would make total sense. I have them all here. I can do that really quickly for you guys. I can show you the paper. The only thing I'm not going to do is write on each one of these, just because the ones that I don't decide to use, I think I want to give them to friends and family so they can use it. So I don't obviously want to mess up the notebooks for them. I think I've got a good range of mainstream and some not so mainstream dot grid notebooks, and I'm going to step through the features of each one. Alright, so the first notebook I'm going to go through is this one. It is the Moleskine notebook. It's the classic notebook in large. Obviously it's the dot grid. It is a hardcover journal and you can get it in the soft cover as well. From what I can tell, I think black is the only color available. I haven't been able to find any other colors. Measurement wise, it measures 13 centimeters or 5 inches across, and then down is 21 centimeters or 8.25 inches. I honestly think this is more like 5.2 or 5.3 inches, but these are the measurements that I've just taken off the Moleskine website. So it comes with 190 pages, which is a good amount. I'm just going to skip over the part that I've used up. This is like new paper here. And the paper itself is about 70 GSM. So for those of you who don't know, GSM is the weight of the paper, and I'm sure there's a lot more science that goes into it, but personally from my perspective, the only reason I care about GSM is because some of my pens, especially my fountain pens, can be quite inky and they'll bleed through. So I tend to go for thicker paper. Unfortunately, in my experience, this 70 GSM is not quite thick enough. I don't know if you guys can see, but obviously in my monthly view here, you can actually see through the calligraphy. So it is semi-see-through, which a lot of people find that annoying. I personally don't mind too much, but if I could have paper that I couldn't see right through and see what was happening on the other side, that would be ideal as well. The grids itself is about 5 millimeters to 5 millimeters, so that's pretty standard for most bullet journals, but later on you'll see that's not always the case. It does have a convenient back pocket here for you to store some stuff. It is enclosed with this elastic band and a ribbon bookmark. One thing I really like about elastic band notebooks is that, especially if you're still near the start of your bullet journal, it acts as a great bookmark as well, so you can double it up as another bookmark. I'm going to talk about the prices as well, just because I do have them listed down, and I'm going to speak to them from an Australian perspective based on what I paid for. So some of these had to be converted from US dollars, and obviously that will change depending on the currency. Even in Australia, the prices will vary depending where you buy these notebooks, so this is just, treat this as just very general, but I personally picked this notebook up for $34.95 Australian dollars. I do enjoy using this. It's very convenient. It fits very easily. Obviously, it's a good size. The only reason I'm not using it next year is because I find the paper a little bit too thin, and I kind of want to try something different for next year. So that is the Moleskine. So the next notebook I'm going to talk about is the Rhodia. I never know how to pronounce this because I feel like every time I hear it online people say it differently, but for me this is the Rhodia Webnotebook. It's another pretty popular notebook in the bullet journaling community. This only comes in hardcover from what I can tell. I haven't been able to find a softcover version. It comes in two colors, black and orange, so I actually got the orange version. And the feel for this is similar to the Moleskine in that it has a bit of a like leather-like feel, except this one feels a little bit more cushy and a little softer, and is slightly more prone to dents. I already dented it just somewhere here. It's a very light dent, just here somewhere. I did dent it with my nail, but as you can see, you can hardly tell. So I don't know how this will hold up long term if you're throwing it in a bag for like an entire year, but that's just worth keeping in mind. Sizing wise, it is just the tiniest bigger than the Moleskine. It is, instead of 13 centimeters, it's 14 centimeters wide here, which is 5.5 inches, and it's still the same height, 21 centimeters, so 8.3 inches. It comes with 192 pages, so it's 2 pages more, but the main difference is that the paper weight is supposed to be 90 GSM. Even though when I'm feeling it now, it honestly doesn't feel a lot thicker, but it does feel a lot smoother. The paper does feel a lot smoother, so I feel like it will hold the ink better. And I know that Rhodia is really well known for its very high quality smooth paper. Like the Moleskine, it does have a back pocket right here, which I have nothing in, and I always have a trouble opening them. It does have the elastic closure and a ribbon bookmark, so again, very good. You can double it up as 2 bookmarks. So the grid size is the same. It's 5mm by 5mm, which is great. It's very standard. And in terms of cost, this is actually a little bit cheaper from what I've been able to find. It's about 30 Australian dollars, but I have found it to be like 22 US dollars, so around that price range. It's very comparable to the Moleskine in that sense in terms of cost, but there are some fundamental differences. Okay, so the next notebook I'm going to talk about is this one. It is the Erin Condren Hardbound Notebook in the dot grid. They do have like lined and a few others, but obviously in this video I'm only going to talk about the dot grid versions. Erin Condren only recently came out with their dot grid notebooks, I think probably a few months ago, so they're still pretty new to it. I don't think they're as huge in the bullet journaling community because they do have their life planner, which you guys know I love, but I think this is their attempt to try and get into the bullet journaling community. Right now, as of 2017, obviously this could change in the future, they only offer this in hardbound, hence the name Hardbound Notebook. It comes in 4 colors, so there's like a purple, a raspberry, a lilac, and a black color. I obviously got the lilac. You can personalize the cover by putting your name in here, and when you personalize it, you can pick what sort of foiling you want, whether it's rose gold, gold, silver, but all that does add an extra cost of like $5. Size-wise, it's pretty comparable to the other notebooks, although I get this feeling it's like on the skinnier side for some reason. So the original measurements are 5 inches across, 8 inches down, and for my fellow Australians, 12.7 centimeters across and about 20.3 centimeters down. So it's like just a little bit smaller, and you can definitely feel that when you have all the notebooks together. This one only seems to come with 62 pages, so it is a lot smaller in comparison to the other notebooks. And the paper, it doesn't really say on the website, but I'm gonna try and take a semi-educated guess and assume it's probably 80 to 90 GSM. Feels a little thicker than the Rhodia paper, but it doesn't feel as smooth, so I feel like it's gonna absorb ink a lot quicker than Rhodia, so I'm gonna just go with 80 GSM. The other thing to note is that the grids themselves are not 5mm. This actually measures to be about 7mm, so out of all the notebooks, this is the only one that went for 7mm for some reason. It just means that everything's a little bit bigger and spread out. There is no elastic bound, as you can see. It is just standard notebook. It does have 1 ribbon bookmark just here, so you can use this to bookmark the page you are currently on. There's also no back pockets or anything like that, but I think all that is reflected in the price. This is 15 US dollars, which might work out to be like 18 Australian dollars. The only thing, however, is, as with most things Erin Condren, if you don't live in the USA, then you're going to be hit with their exorbitant shipping, which is about 20 US dollars. It's more like $19.95, but pretty much regardless of how big your order is, unless they've got a special running, you are always going to pay that flat rate. That can be a big deterrent for people who don't live in the USA or potentially Canada. I'm not sure if Canada have any exceptions, but $15 for a notebook, 15 USD, and then shipping is $19.95 USD. Essentially, your shipping is more expensive than your notebooks. So for a lot of us who don't live in the States, this is not worth it. Fortunately, I ordered this with a bunch of other things, so I kind of felt a little bit more justified, but I can definitely see why this might not be as popular with a lot of bullet journalers. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention about the other planners, that Moleskine is actually an Italian company, Rhodia is actually a French company, and of course Erin Condren is a US company. So it's just kind of nice to know where all these planners originated from, in my opinion. As you can see, in each of the pages they do have this like little flag at the top here. It's very similar to the life planner colors they have. So I don't know, personally for me, if I'm bullet journaling, I don't really need this here. I actually don't want this here, so that's a deterrent for me. But yeah. So yeah, that's the Erin Condren Hardbound Notebooks. Alright, I'm going to move on to one other kind of different brand that I feel like is not very well known. And it is this one here. This is actually called, the company's called Baron Fig. They are based out of New York, so they're a US company. I feel like this was made from people who are just really passionate about stationery. It's kind of like a, not an indie brand, but it's a very small brand in comparison to the other ones that I've been talking about. And I just came across them on Instagram, to be honest, and they just look really interesting, so I thought I'd pick it up. So they come in 2 colors. They have a range of notebooks, but the dotted grid version for the hardbound come in 2 colors. This is the light charcoal, and they have a darker charcoal. This is like a fabric notebook. It's a little bit wider. It's slightly wider, but a little bit shorter. So this is 13.7 centimeters across, 19.5 centimeters down, which equates to about 5.4 inches wide and 7.7 inches down. So it's got 192 pages in it. So it's very much closer to the standard bullet journal page count. One thing to note, and this is the thing about all these bullet journals, is that initially when you get them, they're not going to always lie flat. Even though this website does say it lies flat, obviously when it's brand new, you have to break the spine to some degree because they're not going to lie flat. I feel like the Moleskine one probably laid the flattest when it was new, but it now lays completely flat just because I do use it all the time. So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. But one of the selling points for this was to say that it did lay flat naturally, and obviously, as you can see, you do have to break the spine to do it. It has a ribbon bookmark, just one. It doesn't have the elasticness, so it just has one bookmark. There is no back pocket at the end. However, the last 12 pages are perforated, so you can tear them out if you want to, so that's a nice option to have. The grids themselves are about 5 millimeters, maybe 6 millimeters in terms of distance, and the only reason I say that is if you look very closely, the dots themselves are more subdued and a little bit larger than you do find in, say, the Moleskine. So I'm gonna just bring up both of them to compare. As you can see, the side-by-side comparison, it's pretty minor, but the dots for the Baron Fig are a little bit bigger than the dots for the Moleskine and most of the others. And they are a little bit more subtle as well, so I'm pretty sure that was intentional. As you can see, the paper is a lot wider than it was for, say, the Moleskine is ivory, and you're gonna find the Rhodia is ivory, but the Erin Condren does seem pretty wide. The paper on this is supposed to be around 90 GSM, pretty thick. It's been designed not just for bullet journaling, but for sketching and just general note-taking. I do like that it is a little on the wider side, so I feel like I've got a lot of real estate this way, and I like that. I don't know, it just feels like it's a little like a nicer shape as opposed to, say, the Erin Condren, which is quite a bit taller. I'm a bigger fan of this shape than this one. In terms of pricing, I'm going to say the US dollars, and then I'm going to say what I paid in terms of conversion. So the notebook itself is about $18 US, which is pretty good. I'm not sure what shipping is like in the US, but in Australia, like to get this to Australia was $8.56 US cents. So in total, when I paid this in Australian dollars, it worked out to be almost about $35 to $40, including shipping, which isn't too bad. I mean, it is kind of on par to just getting the Moleskine in store as it is into an Australian shop. So price-wise, I'm pretty happy with this. So I've got 2 more journals to go through. However, they are from the same brand, so I'm just going to do them together at the same time. And it is, of course, Leuchtturm. Leaving this to last because, as you may already guess, I'm probably going to be moving into a Leuchtturm next year. But I'm going to go through these anyways. So both of these are hardcover. I'm going to go through the things that are the same of these two, and then I'm going to go through the differences. This is the bullet journal Leuchtturm. So Leuchtturm is actually a German brand, as you can tell by the name. This is just their standard A5 dot grid notebook. And then this is one specifically designed for bullet journalers, so I got both just to compare them. So the things that are the same for these is that they're both hardcovers. They both have this single elastic band at the front. They're pretty much the same size, as you can see. They like stack really well, so they are exactly the same size, which is about 14.5 centimeters across and 20 centimeters down. For Americans, it's a 5.7 inches and 8.2 inches down. They both have a back pocket right at the back here, which you can store stuff in, and they also come with some stickers. They're not like, you know, super amazing colorful stickers, but they're good for labeling, just very general basic stickers. So you can easily just store that in the back pocket if you want. In terms of paperweight, it is about 80 GSM, so definitely not as thick as the Rhodia and some of the others, but thicker than the Moleskine. Some of the main differences for this is that it has more pages. This has 249 pages to it, whereas this one only has 240. Regardless, these two still hold more pages than all the other notebooks I've covered before. So this one actually has 2 ribbon bookmarks. However, in the bullet journal version, you get 3. Which is still, I can't open this. I'm trying to do it elegantly on the camera as I film this, and then it just never works out. But yeah, you get 3 here. The other difference is that at the back of this one, you've got, I think the last 8 pages are perforated, so you can pull them out if you need. And major difference is that the bullet journal version obviously has been preset to follow some of the bullet journal techniques. So it has a legend here, some notes to follow, some tips. You've got like your index page, your future log, and then it goes on to the rest of the notebook. If you aren't familiar with how bullet journals are typically set up, then I recommend you visit bulletjournal.com. I'll link it all down below so you can click through and have a look. Other difference is that this only comes in 2 colors, so you can get black or teal, and for the actual notebook you can get so many colors, like a huge range, probably bigger than what I've seen for the other ones. They're like white, blue, green, yellow, pink. It's a huge range, so there's a lot to choose from when you just go for the notebook version. And one of the other things about the Leuchtturm series is that they actually come with numbered pages. So you can see right here in the corner, the pages all already come pre-numbered, whereas all the other notebooks don't have any numbering at all. All right, so before I sign off, I'm going to try and actually put as many of these notebooks, I'm going to just stack these because they're exactly the same size, but I kind of want to show you what they look like next to each other. I'm not going to be able to fit all of them, so I'm just kind of throw them on the table so you can kind of see the size differences. This is the Moleskine, this is the Rhodia. I think the Rhodia is very, very close to the Leuchtturm. That's just a touch taller. Moleskine is obviously quite a bit skinnier. Then you've got the Baron Fig, which is obviously a bit wider, but also shorter in height. And then your last one is the Erin Condren planner. Well, not Erin Condren, but the Erin Condren notebook, which is slightly taller than the Moleskine. No, which is almost very comparable to the Moleskine. So it's on the tall, skinnier side. So I feel like Moleskine and Erin Condren follow the same sizing pattern. Rhodia and Leuchtturm also follow the same. And then Baron Fig is kind of doing its own thing, but I appreciate that and I respect it. So I hope you guys found this video useful. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't want to miss any of my videos, then be sure to subscribe. This is Celina reporting from my room. Back to you, internet.